Hello, my friends. I am here on day 2 of my fast, my 7-day fast. And it is safe to say I think I am in the midst of the hardest section of this fast, which is the first 48 hours. Um, Yesterday, after I made a tape, I went out and did some window shopping to keep myself busy because I found myself needing to avoid uh, food. So I went to Burlington Coat Factory, or Burlington, it's called, and just did some window shopping, looking at different pants and clothes, having some uh, browsing of aspirational purchases, so that um, I'll admit I picked up a nice pair of pants that were uh, 34 waist, 32 length, because that's generally when I was at my healthiest. Uh, my waist was a 34, so that's where I'm shooting for. So I bought those aspirational pants so that when I'm able to fit in them, I feel like I've accomplished something. So that was yesterday, and uh, I think I was really trying to stay focused on other things because I ended up spending a few hours just kind of going through all the aisles and looking at everything. And I think I really just needed to kind of distract myself. So that was yesterday. Uh, and I drank a lot of green tea. So I was up a little later than expected, but I did a lot of Duolingo, working on my French until I fell asleep. And I woke up uh, today back with that feeling of I need to keep myself busy because I realized I need to make. I think the hardest part of today will be cooking a batch of food for Rusty to kind of get through the weekend. So I kind of cook in batches for him so I can just kind of refrigerate and pull out and feed him. But I just fed him the last bit uh, of my previous batch, so I have to make something uh, new for him today. So the trick will be, because I make his own food and it's with food that I would eat, it's going to be tricky not to be kind of like, chopping up some carrots and popping something in my mouth, or chopping up some celery or something. So I'm just going to stay focused on not doing anything mindlessly, because that's the biggest thing that I've realized that I do when it comes to eating. Because when I got home last night and I was, doing some work on the computer, I found myself like reaching for things to munch on, which I didn't realize I did until I kind of like was like, what am I reaching for? So that's kind of where I am with the food hurdles, is just kind of keeping myself distracted from mindless munching and eating, which is a good thing to be aware of because that's one of the things, like I said, that I'm doing this fast for, was to kind of reboot my relationship to food so that I'm not kind of like doing this emotional eating or just mindless munching on things without even recognizing that I'm doing it. And over these last 2 days, I've been aware of how much I do that. And also with watching TV, there's a lot of mindless munching that I do that I guess the good side of that is that it's made it harder to sit and watch TV because I'm not kind of like munching on something. So I turned it off and started doing, other things, like going through my wardrobe, washing some clothes and doing the stuff with, you know, all those other things that I wanted to get done during this 7-day fast challenge, which was decluttering my apartment, getting my wardrobe together, and doing this fast. So it was good that I started doing those other things, and I'm going to continue doing that. But I feel like I need to do these videos, one, just to have something in each day to give me a focus on, and also just for me to kind of catalog these things that I'm being aware of, so I don't let them slip by. Because I think if I can get a grip on the mindless eating that I do, I think I will save myself a lot of weight gain when I get off of this fast. So hopefully I'll be able to kind of reboot that and just be much more conscious as I move forward. The other thing about this first 48-hour period is this is when I think a lot of the sugar is being burnt, and I'm in the process of switching from burning off all the sugar reserves in my body to switching over to being fat adapted. And that's kind of the goal of doing all this, because you can either burn sugar for energy or you could burn fat for energy. And since fat was designed to be something to kind of keep us alive, that we store it for those periods of time when you didn't have food, so you can kind of rely on those fat stores to feed you when you weren't able to find food. Well, we live in a time where food is abundant, so and there's so much sugar in food that's really hard, unless you really go low cal or go on a fast, to eliminate the sugar from your system that you're using for energy and switch over to fat. And I'm hoping that as I switch over to the fat, that I will start to, as the days go by, see more noticeable weight loss, because I will be attacking the fat in my body as opposed to the sugar, that's been stored. So this is that period of time, because it's they said the first 24 to 48 hours of your fast is when autophagy starts, and you do that switch over from burning sugar to burning fat. And because I have type 2 diabetes, my metabolism by definition is out of whack. So it's a little harder to do the fat adaptation. What I tried to do as kind of a hack was my last meal was I opened up a can of sardines and a can of herring, and I just ate the herring and the sardines. And the reason I did that was because it's rich in omega fats, high in protein, and essential fatty acids. So I had less of a sugar spike going into this fast, and I had my body kind of, the last thing it's digesting is protein and fats. So hopefully that will kind of gear it in the direction of being able to switch from the sugar to the fat without as much of that craving thing, because it wasn't a sugary meal, that I ended with. So we'll see if that works. But I will say I'm not as kind of cranky. So I think having that kind of satiating protein and essential fatty acid meal helped me not be quite as kind of irritable as I'm going through this fast. Because I've been pretty okay, mood-wise. It's just being aware of the mindless habits, reaching for food that isn't there, or stopping myself, like I have a jar of nuts, and I reached for them, and then I just stared at them and said, "No, I'm not going to eat those," and I took my hand away. Uh, so that's what these first 48 hours are for me, at least. I've been drinking a lot of green tea. I'm going to try and drink a little more water today as well as the green tea. Um, but the biggest thing for me to note for today, day 2, is when I took Rusty for our walk. I'm in Los Angeles, and even though it's October, it's hot outside. So it's a sunny day, it's hot, and um, I felt my energy kind of draining from just taking a walk through the neighborhood for Rusty to do his pooping and peeing. But I felt a little, I don't want to say I was totally lightheaded, but I felt I was aware of being tired, which is kind of that's again a part of these first 48 hours is kind of the sugar being depleted. So my energy level is really low, but I take that as a good sign because that means I think I'm burning through the sugar. And hopefully in the next few hours, if I haven't already, I will switch over to burning fat. But I think it probably hasn't happened yet because in the past, I've noticed when I've kind of transitioned over to not being hungry or thinking about food, I have a clarity, and that clarity hasn't come on yet. So right now I'm still in that kind of, not in a fog, but just feeling a little lightheaded and tired, even though I haven't done much other than walk around the neighborhood for like 10, 15 minutes. That's not a real reason to be as tired as I'm feeling. Uh, so I know I'm burning through the sugar, which is I'm taking this all as a good sign because, again, this hasn't been a painful experience. It's just been more reminding myself to be mindful of my actions. But luckily, I've not been cranky or in a bad mood or irritated by anything, which, is not out of the realm of possibility for me. So I'm glad that hasn't been happening. So I want to note that so that I remember the next time I do a fast, I am going to, I think, do another last meal, heavy protein, probably the sardines and herring again, because it's good for you. And I want to kind of keep things as effective as possible because once I'm done with the 7-day fast, one of the things that I've read is that it's good to, have one day out of the week that you do a 24-hour fast. That way you kind of help keep your body cleansing itself and give your body a bit of a rest because there's not, a need to be eating every single day. As long as I'm just being smart about it, like I'll either choose a Sunday or a Wednesday. I'll see whatever day works best for me. Probably I'll do a Sunday. That way, I have fewer things that can get in the way if, I feel lightheaded or whatever. But that's for the future. But I do want to incorporate the things I established in this 7-day fast. I want to lose the weight if, depending upon how much weight I lose. Like today, I got on a scale and I'm on day 2 and I lost 3 pounds of weight, which is good. It may be just water weight, but hey, 3 pounds is 3 pounds. And we'll see where I end up at the end of the 7-day fast. But wherever I end up, I want to do my best to not suddenly all put it back in like 2 or 3 days. So I want to get through these first 48 hours. appreciate that I've lost 3 pounds, appreciate that I'm in a good mood. I may be tired, but I'm not cranky. So I'm going to take it easy today, and hopefully by tomorrow we'll have switched over and I'll be using fat as energy, so I may actually have more energy than I'm feeling today. So hopefully it'll be because I have the diabetes, it may take a little longer to do that shift over from sugar to fat, because my blood sugar levels may be higher than other people, so it may take more time, more than 24 to 48 hours to work through all the sugar in my system. That I don't know, but we'll see. I'm just kind of making a guess at that. Since I am diabetic, that means I have high blood sugar, high insulin levels. So it's going to take a little longer probably than the normal non-diabetic person to lower their blood sugar levels. But I do know it is happening because I'm feeling the tiredness of the blood sugar being lowered. So again, that's a good sign. But hopefully by tomorrow or Monday at the latest, I will switch over to burning fat. And they say that visceral fat is the first fat to go, so that would be great because that would mean my waist would go down. But anywhere that it's burning fat would be great. And I'm going to go and do as much as I can on this fast to eventually add exercise into my day and be as productive as possible. So I'm going to stop for now and say I'm happy that I am in the middle of day 2, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the rest of the day. I may try and do some reading, get some headway into reading The Count of Monte Cristo before the film festival comes up on November 3rd, so I want to get cracking on that. And I also want to do some cleaning, so I may do that first, do a little bit of cleaning, and then do some reading later on. Hopefully my energy level will allow for all of this. But if it doesn't, then I will just kind of chill and take it easy, work on my French studying, and do some reading. So, success so far. I'm at day 2, midway through day 2, so I'm just getting there. But this is all worth it because this is about cleansing my body of a lot of the junk in my system, help lower my insulin levels, which will allow me to start burning fat, lower my blood sugar levels in my body. All these are good things, and I'm not doing anything dangerous because this is literally how we've lived for thousands of years. So, the idea that for 7 days I'm restricting myself from having food, it's not that big of a deal. And that's what I need to remind myself. I don't want to make too big of a thing out of it, but what I want to do is just get through it. I'm not going to allow myself to talk myself out of, don't do this whole 7 days thing. Because I was just watching, because I've been watching YouTube clips on fasting, and they were talking about a guy who fasted safely with the doctor's supervision for 390 something days, and he went from 400 pounds to 180 something. So that was a lot of weight, and he did it under the supervision of a doctor for literally over a year, and he was fine. So I think I can do 7 days of a fast. And if anything, it will help me strengthen my discipline in being able to do 7 hours of fasting, working through the things that would normally stop me and I would just kind of break the fast and eat. I am going through my 7 days, and depending how I feel, I may go a little longer. But for now, I'm shooting for 7 days because I really want to make an effort to work on lowering my blood sugar levels, work on lowering my insulin levels, and reversing my type 2 diabetes. So this isn't as much about losing weight as it is about reversing my type 2 diabetes. And fasting is one of the most effective ways of reversing your type 2 diabetes. Because as I've explained before, I've seen that there's people who talk about going on a keto diet or carnivore diet in order to reverse type 2 diabetes, or going on a vegan diet. I've kind of done both, and none of them seem to work. So what has worked for me has been fasting. So I am going to do as many long fasts as I can periodically, because from what I've read, in order to reverse my type 2 diabetes, I would need to do longer fasts so that I can get down those blood sugar and insulin levels low enough to be able to heal the metabolic issues that have come up. But largely it's about getting the insulin levels low enough for me to be able to burn fat, efficiently, and kind of hopefully cleanse the cells of the glycation that's come with all of the type 2 diabetes that I've, had. So, okay, I'm starting to ramble because I'm getting tired, but I'm on day 2. I'm doing well. I'm making progress, and hopefully I will switch over to being fat adapted and burning fat instead of sugar. Because once I'm fat adapted, that means I burnt through the sugar in my system. So as much as is physically, literally possible before you switch over. Because, like I said, you can either burn fat, or burn sugar as your source of energy. You don't do both at the same time. So I have to burn through all the sugar before I can become fat adapted. So once I do become fat adapted, then I know I burned through all the sugar. Okay, day 2, so far success. Looking forward to day 3 and transitioning to fat adaptation. So keep your fingers crossed for me, my friends. Things are going well, and I will check in with you tomorrow. Take care. Bisous.